Hi, and welcome back to part 2. Sorry for the interruption. It's just been difficult at times since, you know. Technical issues aside, and unforeseen characters getting murdered, and a terrible letdown of an ending. This is shaping up to be one of the better Game of Thrones episodes. Part 1 was running a little bit long anyway, so I was actually able to split this in half and actually add more into part 2 than I originally planned because it was running a little bit long. So I'm glad it happened. I'm glad there was a silver lining. Hopefully there's more real estate content for you to enjoy. So I hope you were able to use the loo, got a refreshment, and you're now ready and itching for more educational content. So let's get right into it. I'd like to first begin this renting versus buying comparison with introducing the 5-year rule. And what's the 5-year rule? The 5-year rule is kind of a rule of thumb when it's financially beneficial to rent versus to buy. So this is regardless of all other factors. This is just for monetary sense. Okay, sense. Okay, renting is better for your budget if you're planning on spending less than 5 years in a single place. Again, this is one property. This is not a neighborhood or a city. This is just the one property. Okay, more than 5 years, better to buy. And why is that? 4 factors. The first one is holding costs. It means you're paying for all the maintenance, all the yard work, and taxes and everything that can go wrong with your house. Otherwise, that'd be covered by a landlord. The second issue is the way that interest is structured on a mortgage, a 30-year fix, let's say. And at the very beginning, we'll look in this in a couple of episodes, how a mortgage is structured, but basically, the very beginning is all interest, meaning that's the money you're just giving back to the lender, you're just throwing into the fire. So you're not making any principal payments that go into the equity of your house. The third is closing costs. Here in Washington, we have an excise tax of, let's say, almost 2%. When you go to sell your house, it goes straight to the state. On top of that, you have commissions, and if you have, say, a septic, it costs about $500 to $1,000 to pump your septic. So, it's like, holy moly, it starts adding up quickly. And the last reason is, historically, housing prices have been rather stable and steady. It kept on track with inflation, and it took about 5 years to build up enough equity that you could actually see a substantial gain in the amount of money that you've accumulated in a property. Recently, appreciation has been like this rather than this. So this is kind of making the 5-year rule defunct for the moment because you could already have positive equity in a house that you've only been living for like 2 years now because of war. But don't worry if you missed out on the FOMO. You want to do things the right way. And for example, if you're comparing yourself to your friends and your friends are like, dude, look at my Zillow. It says I made $70,000 over the past year in my house. And it turns out the house that they bought is the first house they got their offer accepted on. And they're quite not happy with the house. And now they have to think about selling because it's not working out for them. And now all of a sudden they're going to pay 10% of the value of the house on selling costs. So if they made $70,000 and it's going to cost them $40,000 to sell, they're only left with a $30,000 profit, assuming that they're in that house for more than 2 years. If not, they're going to be paying short-term capital gains tax on that. So something to consider. So if you think about it, they're really not that much further ahead of you. When it comes to houses, you have to think in hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars terms, because that's really how they impact net worth. Any good investing advice, the best time to invest was yesterday. The second best time to invest is today. So say that the best time to invest for you right now, because you didn't do it in the past, is today. So start today and make the right choices today, and you won't fall into these dumb traps that your friends are going to fall into because you're going to pay all these fees that they didn't know they have to pay. But I digress. What I wanted to really say is that the 5-year rule does underpin the fact that renting is more financially responsible than buying in some situations. And we're going to cover those briefly. I know many of you are renters, so you have a lot of first-hand experience. So I'm not going to belabor the points. We're just going to blast right through them, and just if you weren't aware of one, maybe like, oh, that's really good. Maybe I should be doing that. So let's just cover them real quick, and then we'll go into why buying is superior to renting. All right, now for the quick rundown. The first one we already covered, and that's the 5-year rule. And that just says, hey, sometimes it actually makes more financial sense to rent than to buy, because in the short term, if you're only planning on staying in an area for less than 5 years, you're actually coming out ahead by renting versus buying. Renting also allows you to remain flexible, which means if you don't like your neighbors or you don't like your neighborhood, or you find out that the house or apartment you're renting doesn't have any insulation in the walls and it turns into furnace for 4 months out of the year, you can just, as soon as your lease expires, or you can terminate early and just get out of there. Super simple. Commuting is also far simpler because there's so many apartments close to your work versus single family houses, and that's just a supply-demand rule, right? So you're paying $2,000 for an apartment versus $2,000 for a single family house. Chances are that single family house is much further away from your work. Proximity to work in downtown and cities comes the amenities that they provide. Cafes, bars, clubs, art galleries, the opera if you're into that kind of stuff, and all the things that people actually enjoy when they're not working. The best part about renting is that it requires no maintenance, no yard work. The moment you wake up, the day is for you and you alone. You can spend it however you want. You don't have any other obligations that your house or your property is making you do. Okay, so you can spend it working, you can spend it exercising, reading books on self-improvement, or learning new hobbies. You can, for example, learn how to cook, you can learn how to sew, or you can spend your entire day mindlessly surfing the web and not doing anything with your life, which is probably the worst reason to be renting in the big city. Really use that time that you have from renting and throwing away all that money essentially into the garbage can. Use that wisely to improve your lot in life, okay? Best excuse I can find for renting, besides the 5-year rule, is that you can have a lot of roommates, meaning you can really ratchet down that rent you're paying per month. You can go from $2,000 to $400 by finding a lot more roommates. And as they say, the more the merrier. No, what I mean to say is invest in a good set of earplugs and you'll thank me later. Remember, if you think by renting a swanky apartment you can show off to your friends and your family that you've made it, you're wrong. That is very antithetical to actually building wealth. At the end of the day, you're going to leave your apartment and you'll have nothing to show for it. And you're like, oh my God, I can now live in a cardboard box because that's all I can afford because I spent all my money on dumb stuff. So don't fall into that trap, okay? Try to think ahead. When you have a lot of roommates, you're not really incentivized to spend a lot of your time in your room lollygagging around. No, you want to be out of the house. And hopefully you'll spend that time in your office. And you'll spend that time working or thinking about ways that you can improve your side hustle, how to start your side hustle, or any other things that you could do to make more money. Additionally, if you live in a clown car of roommates, you're not going to want to spend the $3,000 to $4,000 on that new laptop because that sucker's gone real quick, right? So you're going to be cutting all your costs down to the bare essentials and stuff that's not worth a lot. And that's going to really benefit your pocketbook. You have to take one step backwards to take 3 steps forward. And this goes for that as well, because when you take that one step backward, you resign yourself to living a worse standard of living. You can actually leap ahead 3 to 4 steps because you can now save up for the nest egg really intensely instead of slowly piecemealing it out over the year. And then all of a sudden you're only left with 10 grand. My wife and I were making, let's say, $100,000 before taxes and income. And we were able to, over the span of 2 years, save up $100,000 that we used for this house. 50% of our income and put it towards a nest egg. So please take that in consideration when you really think about how much you actually need to spend on yourself. Don't tell me it's not possible. If I can do it, you can do it. And I know you can. Okay, now that we've covered all those awesome reasons why renting is so great, why would anybody want to buy? Well, everybody has their own reasons. I think the most common driver is the need for more space. And the need for more space usually comes from, having kids or wanting kids, starting a family, or, you want pets and you need more room, a bigger yard, or you have hobbies and you have an RV, or you have a wood shop or something you can't get in the city, or you just want privacy. You want, a nice little green buffer around you, and you don't want your neighbors looking into your bathroom window. You can probably get something you're looking for in the suburb, in the commuter belt, if you're not telecommuting to work, for around the same price that you're renting right now in an apartment. So what else do you get for buying some property? Besides the extra elbow room? Well, I'll tell you. We're going to explore 5 benefits of becoming a homeowner. The first reason we're going to cover on why to buy is the pride of ownership. Owning a house has been part of the American dream before there's been an America, really. Owning one's own home provides security. As long as you maintain it, repair it, and pay all your bills on time, nobody can kick you out of your own home. You're there, and nobody can tell you otherwise. Additionally, all those payments you're making are a forced savings account. So in the long term, 15 years, 30 years, whatever your mortgage term is, you're going to own that home outright, 100% of the equity. And in the meantime, you're putting money into your own pocket in the form of principal. And it also provides you that sense of accomplishment that owning an apartment just can't provide. Unlike an apartment, you can pass on your home to your heirs. That means all that equity that you've built up actually can pass to the next generation. All that money you paid to a landlord, it doesn't go anywhere. Nobody can tell you what you can or can't do inside or outside of your home, barring any HOA covenants. But, the whole reason you're going into a place with an HOA is because it protects the property prices from anyone painting their house pink or parking a bunch of used old junky cars in their driveway. So that's, it's a give and take situation there. The second perk of becoming a homeowner is that it's a protection against inflation, meaning that if you get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, your principal plus interest is going to remain the same as it is today, as it is 30 years from now. And okay, why is that so great? Well, can you imagine 30 years ago, a candy bar was 5 cents and now it's 25 cents. That's a 500% inflation. Can you imagine if your mortgage was that candy bar, 500? Holy moly. No, now your mortgage is that 5-cent candy bar today as it will be 5 cents 30 years from now. That's how it works. Similarly to inflation is rent. Rent goes up because of properties appreciating, but also because of the value of the dollar going down, meaning they charge you more rent because the dollar is worth less. So it's not unheard of for rent to go up 4 to 6% every year. Some landlord groups are forming to protest local rental caps of 10% or more. You'd feel it if your rent went from $2,000 to $2,200 in just 1 year. The third thing that homeowners get are tax advantages. While it used to be in the past that you could really itemize your taxes and deduct your interest that you paid on your mortgage and any state and local income tax that you paid and property tax, the government has now capped those. So the interest you can now deduct is $10,000 and plus any taxes that you're paying on top of that. So it doesn't make much sense because the standard deduction is now $24,000. So most people don't hit that anymore. If you're one of the few homeowners that do itemize your taxes and you can exceed the $24,000, you can actually get a tax advantage. But for the most of us, the real important bit is that you can actually take advantage of the capital gains exclusion, which is $250,000 for individuals and $500,000 for married couples, providing that you lived in the house for the last 2 of the 5 years. This means if you go to sell your house and you have a profit, you don't have to pay the government anything, provided it's below that bracket that you're in. Which means when you go to buy your next home, you can just roll that money, boom, right into the next house. No taxes paid. And you get to climb the property ladder. The fourth and the greatest thing about becoming a homeowner is the fact that your home is an investment. And by getting a mortgage, you control 100% of the appreciation captured by that investment by only owning as low as 3%. 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever have you, you control 100% of your house's appreciation and you only control a fraction of how much you own. Wow, that is leverage. Let's put that leverage example into a little bit of context. Let's say you have $40,000 burning a hole in your pocket and you can decide between either keeping it into a bank account that pays 2% interest or you can put it towards a house. So let's go with the first option. If you put your money, $40,000 into a bank account, you'll make about $800 in a year. On the other hand, if you put that money towards a down payment of a house, let's say it's 10% down, that means you're buying a $400,000 house, and let's say that house appreciates by 2%, you're going to be making $8,000 in appreciation. So 800 versus 8,000 because you control 100% of the appreciation of that $400,000 house. The fifth, final, and another awesome thing about becoming a homeowner is that money that you're building up through appreciation and paying your principal off that's the equity, that forced savings account. You can actually use that money, your savings account, before your home's paid off for other things, such as paying off high interest debt. Now you're paying that debt off, putting it on your low interest debt, and then you can easily pay that off much quicker because you're paying less interest on it. Another awesome thing is what investors do is they use the money they've accumulated in their properties to buy more properties. Yeah, you can actually take the money that you build up in your house and use it to buy your next or first investment property and start becoming a real estate mogul. Or if you've always dreamed about starting your own business, boom, instant capital. Take that money out, low interest rates, and you can start your business. You don't have to get a hard money loan or a personal money loan or anything. You can just tap into the equity of your house and start the next great money generating adventure for you. What you shouldn't do, and I'll just throw it out there because a lot of people are doomed, they use it to buy stupid stuff like toys, like ATVs or jet skis or a new car, or the neighbor bought this, I gotta buy it too. And you know what happened during the 2008 housing market collapse? Most of the people, at least in Gig Harbor, that got foreclosed on were actually rich people because they leveraged the house that they are in to buy stuff to compete with their neighbors. And what happened? Housing values went down, all of a sudden they owed so much more and they defaulted on their loan, and boom, now have a bunch of stupid toys that depreciate in value, and there they are, homeless and rich. So don't be one of those people. But that's for a different day. For now, we're gonna first go over how to cheat the 5-year rule. And that's by becoming a landlord. Yes, if you have to leave the property that you just bought and you don't want to lose any money by selling it, you can actually just rent it out and have somebody else pay you off your mortgage. And voila, it's taken care of. And in 30 years' time, assuming it's about par, you'll never have to worry about making another mortgage payment again as long as you have good, steady, reliable tenants in your house. In fact, this is an investing strategy. You can apply for a new mortgage and do this every year, in fact. I'll go through all of this stuff in greater detail in my investing course. It's not out yet, or if you're watching this, it might be out, who knows? I don't know when you're gonna watch this. But it will be out, and we promise it's all gonna be in there. But first, this is the first time homebuyer course, so I'm not gonna get all into nitty-gritty details. I'm just throwing it out there, let you know that, okay, it's not the end of the world. If you buy a house and you don't like it, or your job makes you move, you just go rent it out and pay 20% to a property management company if you don't like being a landlord. Simple. My favorite thing as a real estate agent is actually helping other people build wealth. I mean, that's really my passion, is making money. Like when I think of what I like to do when I'm bored, I like to make money. And I mean, that goes to show that once you get that investor mindset, it actually becomes fun to not spend money and turn your money into more money. And I've actually turned that passion into helping other people make money. So I get paid for helping you make money. That's a great win-win scenario, isn't it? But I'm doing this for free, so you don't have to pay for it. Helping my fellow millennials get into that wealth creation pipeline. And that's because our generation got the absolute short straw. Not only did we graduate in the middle of a recession, and I graduated in 2009, and my the college speaker is essentially, good luck, guys. You won't be able to find a job. Just sit tight and just suck a lemon until things recover. On top of that, we're burdened by student debt, and then our bachelor's degrees were no longer worth anything. They just flooded the market. I mean, all our parents, we did what was right? Our parents said, get a degree, stand out, and you needed to get a job. And all of a sudden, everybody had one. Nobody get a job with one. And you need now work experience. And if you don't, you need a master's degree or a PhD, which even means more student debt and more time wasted not making any money. And on top of that, have you seen all the prices go for everything? I mean, things have gone up 400%. It's like housing, education, insurance, healthcare, wages. No, not wages. Definitely not. Wages are about stagnant. So we're expected to pay all this money, and of course we can't build any wealth. That's why I'm so passionate about other ways to actually make money, because otherwise you're going to be treading water for the rest of your life. I mean, it's hard enough putting money into your retirement fund as it is right now. In fact, here, I'm going to show you a graph right now. It's going to compare millennial wealth versus boomer wealth. Here you can see the difference between boomer wealth and millennial wealth. By the time they were 35, boomers already owned 21% of U.S. household wealth. Millennials, on the other hand, only own 3% at the same age of 35. So I've taken upon myself to help my fellow millennials with this YouTube video, or with my own personal work with you, to help you get into the get rich slow scheme that is real estate. I know many of us have attention spans of goldfish. We want everything done immediately. We have zero patience. I think it's all the internet we've been watching is next. Our attention spans are fried, which is why cryptos and other Ponzi schemes are going through the roof. Oh, hold on. And now we're being suckered in by the next easy money. But you know what? Easy money is hard to come by if you don't have patience. So if this all sounds interesting, you stick with me. I'll make a completely separate episode for it, or a separate series for it. That way, those people that are interested in carrying through and looking at it can get all the information they want. And otherwise, we'll just stay the course and get through the first-time homeowners course, because you're still looking to buy your first home, And I know talking about investing is a little bit, out there perhaps for some of you, but if you get the mindset this is just the first start of your investing career, you will, the sky's the limit. And if you're ready to start your journey, get on to the next episode 2, and I'll see you there. Again, my name is Christian, real estate agent in Washington State, working in the Puget Sound region, Gig Harbor, and Seattle. If you need my help, always willing to help you. Just drop me a line and we'll talk. Contact information down below in the description. See you in episode 2.